how can we commercialize this core block? Because like innovation is just innovation if it stays in the lab. So okay, let's try to market it and let's see what the customers need and let's see what is the potential markets and how can we solve this urban flood with core block.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining another episode of Impact Interview. Today, I'm joined by Sasa, who is part of the Reservoir team. So, hi, Sasa. Thank you so much for having us over.
Hi, thanks also for having me.
So, maybe can you give us a brief introduction about like what Reservoir is and the problem your organization actually aims to tackle?
Yes. So reservoir, like if I talk with non-bahasa speakers, like I have to explain that air in bahasa means water because sometimes they confuse with the air pollution and something. So we focus on the sustainable water management, and our focus is to tackle the two water disasters in Indonesia. We have this floods problem and also the droughts problem. That are the two extremes water disasters in Indonesia, and we aim to tackle that by implementing sustainable water management. And also the concept that we are focusing is also called zero runoff. So that zero runoff in building, that's every building should not result in excess runoff to the environment. So, and our flagship product now is called Pore Block. It is a permeable paving block which can infiltrate water 100 times better than conventional one. So that's our main product. But we also have other water conservation products such as the infiltration well, also rainwater harvesting, and all this can be combined to implement it in the buildings and as sustainable water management in the building.
Right, thank you. And that's very interesting. I mean, maybe you can share a bit more about like how the idea actually come about to be and why you decided to tackle this particular issue related to flood and
Yeah, interesting story because like my background is from environmental engineering, so it's kind of related from the point of hard skill. So in my undergraduate years, I have this one specific subject. It is called water resource management.
Yep.
And it's only 2 credits. The thing that really affects me because I like these lectures and I like also his research. His research were most about the flood in Jakarta.
Right.
And he really explained that in details and how urban developments play important role in this flood in Jakarta because Jakarta is already have a high flood risk, but we have this urban development and also we have this land subsidence problem in Jakarta and it's very complicated. And I also saw that in many research in if it's related to flood, we also have these recommendations such as the first one we have to build this infrastructure, this big infrastructure. Also, and okay, it's often taken care by the government. So okay, and also the second thing is that we also have to implement this kind of rain management. So we have to also manage the rainwater vertically, not only horizontally. So what does it mean by vertically? Like we also have to infiltrate this rainwater to the ground because when there's no building, like many years ago when there was no building and concrete, the rainwater is infiltrated the ground now because of the urban development, also the big residential area. Most of the rainwater it comes as runoff, so it's not infiltrating to the soil anymore. So it's like it disrupts the natural hydrological cycle. So that's why I was really interested with this zero runoff concept. And this zero runoff concept can be implemented by many things, such as if we, for example, when there is rain and also we collect the rainwater, it's also already called zero runoff because we prevent the runoff to the environment. That's the story why I really interested with this. And because like I know that the flood problem is a really complex problem and also drought problems. It has to be solved integratively. So from the upstream, also the downstream.
Thank you. And I think you mentioned a very interesting point about like how Jakarta's urban development. I think it's interesting what you're trying to build in Reservoir with like the different pore blocks solution. So maybe you can share like, especially if you have different types of pore blocks and what are their respective use cases. Maybe they're one specifically for buildings or roads and so on. Yeah.
Okay, so this core block is like, it is a porous paving block which can infiltrate water. And when we test on the laboratory with also the standard, it can infiltrate 100 times better than conventional one. And also, core block can be customized like a regular paving block. For example, like the shapes and also the colors. You may often see the red paving blocks in the streets. Like we also can make the porous paving block with that shapes and also that colors. So it can be customized. And also, actually, if you look at the features physically, it's similar with the conventional paving blocks. So it's not really different in the physical features. You will see if it's raining, like the features that it can infiltrate the water very quickly, and also it can reduce the inundation. Hence, it also reduce the flood risk. So, like in the buildings, it's not really, it's not really customized by buildings, but yeah, most of the customers use the regular one, the 20 times 10 centimeters. And also some clients like to make it red, for example, in the color. For example, in the park, also we have often mixed color between the gray and also the red for aesthetic reasons.
You built that innovation of like making it more porous and hence it enables to absorb water. So I'm curious, like, what is the process of like discovering that and building that? Like, how did you guys come about? Did you come together in a lab together? So maybe you can tell a bit more about that.
So it's actually the previous CEO of Forblock, Anissa, who really tap into the process of the research. Because like basically, I also found this interesting that Forblock comes from research in university. At the time, our CEO, Anissa, she was really interested in how can we commercialize this block, because like innovation is just innovation if it stays in the lab. So okay, let's try to market it and let's see what the customers need and let's see what is the potential markets and how can we solve this urban flood with block. So in the laboratory, I think there was some research to the compositions, also the method, and then we commercialize it, and then we have the manufacturers, or we have the machines, and then we start selling. I think in 2019. Yeah.
What were some of the changes that actually happened from when it went to the lab and to the Pro Block that people are seeing and holding today?
When we have this product and we want to market it, we have to like any gaps to be filled in, we have to see, is this what the market needs? And also, are they really aware about this water problem? Like, do they want to pay for this kind of products? So at that time, the first customer that we reached is architects, because like they understand more about these water problem issues and how they can be implemented in buildings. And they also may be a little bit familiar with this kind of innovations.
Right.
So our main customers, most of them comes from the architects. And yeah, when I think it is good that because architects can also recommend us to another architect, so it's kind of mouth to mouth. And also maybe there are challenges like in the laboratory we only produce like 1 or 5 paving blocks, but when it comes to the real projects, it can be thousands of paving blocks. So it's really also interesting for us to really tap into the business side and also to how to deliver it to the customers and how to make the customers satisfied with our product and that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think even as a social enterprise, just about making impact, we also have to understand what, especially if we're selling that product, about like whether people are actually paying for it. What is like just the rough process of like, let's say if I today am a architect wanting to implement your solution, like what are the steps that it takes for me to, from discovering your solution to actually having it in one of the buildings that I'm designing?
Okay, so the first one is that you can contact our sales contact. You can see also in our website and on our social media. And then we can have, because like this kind of project is very customized. So like the conversation will be through WhatsApp. So we will discuss about the needs in your buildings and also maybe the needs for implementing other products that than Power Block, for example, infiltration well or rainwater harvesting. Yeah, what the aim of the buildings, for example, maybe to just infiltrating water, or maybe they want to also use the rainwater from their building, like reuse it again in the building. It's also possible. And then we can discuss more in details, for example, the locations and also who will do the implementation. Will we just sending the Power Block or we also implement? That's also possible. Yeah, that kind of technical things. Like we cannot really sell it in the e-commerce, so people can buy it, but it's also can be customized because like most of the clients sometimes also wants to have different shapes or colors. So that's also important for us to have discussions.
Right. I'm curious to also explore about like the impact aspect side. Maybe you can also share into like how a story of like implementing your solution actually helped reduce like flooding in a particular area?
For the numbers, I think from 2019, we also calculated the water conserve that is done by Power Block.
Yeah.
It's around 700 billion liters of water,
Wow.
and it's also increasing because like we have this also rainwater every year. And I think I want to highlight this one big project in Semarang. It is a collaboration with Goto Foundation, Gojek. It's kind of a big project, and in residential area, we have this power block also integrated with infiltration well. So because we know that Semarang has land subsidence, also they have flooding, urban flooding, and also they have the flash flood. They have all kind of floods,
Yeah.
but we want to focus in this particular area in the urban flood because they also experience the urban development.
Yeah.
So we implement that in the mosque and also the residential area in people's house. And for that project, we also measure our impact by the CCTV because we have the CCTV, and then we compare before the project and after the project and how the water is infiltrated. And I think for the big rain, like before it takes like 4 until 5, and there is flooding in the area. And then with our product, it's can only 30 minutes and maybe 1 hour maximum. So they can have this reducing of inundation,
Right.
and it matters for them so they can continue their activity in the residential area. And also we also have this modeling, it's very technical from with software, and we can also reduce like 53% of the runoff in the height, and I think it's volume. Yeah, it's volume. We can reduce that numbers, and I think this also applies in other projects. Yeah, but this big project we really quantified the impact. Right.
What do you feel about like working in Semarang? Do you think it's like a success, and that would be like a model that you're looking to scale moving forward?
Yes, interesting question because like we have this Semarang project collaboration with Goto,
Yeah.
and our plan was making this a pilot project. Like we really want to also implement this for block, not just for block, but also integrating it with other technologies like infiltration well. And I think that's really relevant for many residential area in Semarang, maybe also Jakarta, and also in many parts of Indonesia where urban development really occurs. So this Semarang project can be replicated in many areas. In fact, we also have this comprehensive documentations, some like booklet
Yeah.
to really archiving our activities and also maybe the challenges and also
Yeah.
the do's and don'ts
Yeah.
for this kind of project. So maybe if people want to implement this
Yeah.
kind of project, they can also implement that. And
Yes.
if we want to implement in other areas, we also have the ideas, the
Right.
do's and also the don'ts.
Right. I think that's a very interesting aspect because some of the things that I've learned from about speaking with different organizations was about the knowledge base. So when people implement a project, how, if someone tomorrow wants to make the same project, like where can they start and get references of the do's and don'ts? So maybe I'm curious to learn if you're looking to make this, let's say, available to future generations who are looking to implement something similar in the area of like water management as well. Is that something that you're looking to?
Yes, we also have uploaded our booklet in our website, so it can be accessed by everyone. Yeah, I think it's also important. I think we also in Reservoir we have these dreams,
Yeah.
because in Semarang we have this use case as residential area.
Yeah.
But we want to also implement that kind of projects in, for example, in greenhouse, in agriculture area,
Right.
sector, for example, and also maybe in mosque, maybe in apartment, in many use cases.
Right.
So, and we are also planning on doing that in 2024 and this year. So we hope that by the end of this year, we have so many use cases in many buildings for this sustainable water management so that we can compile it, and maybe we can publish also,
Yeah.
publish the results and how does the water conservation technologies can help in reducing flood risk and also reducing drought risk in some areas.
And what was that like for you specifically back then? You already had the learning points, but when you started out, did you have any resources that you referenced? Any companies that did something similar before that you took as a model for implementing in Semarang? Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a company, but this kind of project and this kind of concept is zero runoff is implemented in many countries. Actually, maybe people are more familiar with nature-based solution because we have this flood, and one of the more famous solution now it's called nature-based solution, and our solution it's also basically nature-based solutions. we choose to call it more to zero runoff concept. For this nature-based solution, we have so many examples and so many cases for from other countries as well. Also, they have implemented in buildings and residential area, not just paving blocks, but maybe the green roof or rain garden and that kind of simple technologies, but it really can help to the environment. So yeah, we look up to the more to the academic research and also talking to the academics and to the lectures and so consult with them. Yeah.
Got it. So there's never a shortage of resources, just
Yeah.
where to find them, right?
Yeah, fortunately, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe just pull a bit back in terms of like specifically for that Semarang project, what are some of like the success points and like things that you wouldn't implement again that didn't really work out from that particular project?
We had difficulties in finding locations at that time. Turns out that we also found out that it's not really about the technical problems, but it's more to also the stakeholder engagements. How do we engage with the community? And I think that's really important things when we want to, make bigger impact to the community. So we changed our timeline was a little bit behind because like we changed our locations, and so we have to start again the stakeholder engagement and also defining the location, and that takes time. So maybe the lesson learned is that we have to put this as one of the important variables. And the second thing is more to like lesson learned that we did some education and socializations to the people regarding this water crisis, this water problem in Semarang, and also maybe in other areas. And I think that's also very important to do. And we don't just engage and then implement, and that's it. But we also have to make broader impact that this is what we implement, and this is the problem, and why do we have to start implementing this, so that maybe they can also tell to their neighbors or to their families.
And you mentioned there's always an education layer in terms of like introducing like the solution and why it matters to the community. And I saw, because it was interesting, I saw on your website that you have like a water calculator. So is that also part of something that you do? And maybe you want to talk a bit more about that? Yeah.
Yes, this also an interesting project. This is with my friends from bachelor degree. Because like sometimes when I talk about reservoir and I talk about zero runoff and water conservation, sometimes it's not really touching people, like
emotionally.
not really. Yes, like I have to have this something that relates to people personally. And I also saw this in the other field, for example, the carbon energy.
Yes.
We have this carbon footprint. We are really familiar with that word. But so my idea was that I also the last thing that I saw in social media, I think that we can test our personality and then we can share it. And then people want to test it also. So I think that's really cool, as a campaign. At that time, I think it was 6 months ago. I gathered with my friends, and then I have this idea to this is just a matter of awareness.
Right.
People know that we are in the middle of water crisis, so we have to find one thing that relates to them personally, and it's water usage. How much water do we use every day? So I think it's really related. And I think people also don't know, have no idea how much water do they use every day. For example, how much liter, and also they don't have this visualization of maybe 100 liters. How much is 100 liters actually? That kind of thing. So we developed this calculator. It's really simple. And it's just asking us for our habits, for example, to go to the bathroom and also drinks and also washing, cooking rice. And also there are some simplifications, but we want people that they have this idea of that they are also the part of this water crisis, that we also can do something by maybe reducing our duration in shower, or maybe wash the dishes when it's already full, so we can reduce the water usage. And we sometimes are invited, to have this education for youngsters, for maybe in schools and high schools. And it's really interesting to see people really engaged when we started this quiz and this calculator. I think last month I went to JIS, Jakarta Intercultural School, and I give education about the water conservation, about the water and water crisis basically. And I think about what content will engage them so they can really understand this. So I start with this calculator, and that's really interesting how they get because in the results I put it as an animal,
Right.
I relate with animals. So like they, okay, I'm a gorilla. I'm a dog.
Yeah, yeah.
How they can compare with others, and oh, so this is the litters that the water that they use every day, and then in that content I also compare with the average of people,
Right.
average of the water usage by people, so they know that okay, maybe the water that I use every day is a little bit too much based on the average, so maybe I have to save water in my house.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think a lot of like combining things people are already familiar with like taking that model from the carbon. What are your future plans and innovations that you as an organization are working towards?
Okay, so the first thing is maybe for the solution itself,
Yeah,
because mostly our project is just implementing Power Block, but we have these potential solutions. It's also based on the customer's feedback, because from architects, for example, like I think Power Block can be not Power Block. We also can integrate it with other solutions such as infiltration well, rainwater harvesting. So we not just conserving water, but we can also provide clean water from the rainwater. So I think that's really important for us to really integrate the solutions
yeah,
and make impact not just in conserving but also how can we provide in the clean water from rainwater. That's the one thing. And the second thing is that for Power Block itself, we have some research for the products.
right.
So we want to have these raw materials Power Block from waste, for example, from PET waste
Right.
or from fly ash. So
Right.
in that case, we're not just tackling the water problem, but we can also reducing the waste from the source. So that's also one thing that we are testing now in our lab. Currently, in this moment, we have this our sample tested from graphene. Graphene is from PET plastic.
Yeah.
And the second thing from the fly ash, we are also testing it. And also the third thing is we have these suggestions that from people that theoretically for a block because it has porous features.
Yeah.
Theoretically, it can reduce urban temperature. Yeah, so because like it affects the solar reflectance, and we have this index to test, and we are also testing our product for that number.
Yeah.
So if we have this number, it's also important that we can tell people that our product can also reduce the urban heat island effect.
Lastly, just to close off the session, I think I'm curious to learn just like you mentioned about like scaling your impact and so on. Like, how do you measure actually, like, what is the process for you guys to measure, like, when you implement a solution, what's the effectiveness, and how do you plan to, like, scale up this like monitoring effort? Because I think that's also important to have the data to improve your product and also communicate it with your stakeholders. Yeah.
So our tools for impact measurement, for example, we have this. In some big projects, we have these models in software for the places, so we can also measure it with the maybe secondary or primary data.
Yep.
That's one thing. And also in the field itself, in some big project, we implement our sensors or
Right.
water monitoring per quantity, so we can also see when it's raining, how much the water that's infiltrated,
Yeah.
and also how is the effectiveness of Power Block itself comparing to conventional paving block. So the third thing, it's also important, maybe from the very basic method, from the CCTV, for example, in the Semarang, we can compare it, and from the community itself, because
Right.
it's also important to get feedback from them.
Yeah.
So because they are the one who really, experience the impact and also having their flood risk reduced in the area. So in the Semarang, for example, we visit regularly to the local people and also ask them how is the flooding there and how's the raining nowadays, and how the public is really effective in tackling them or not. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe to close things off, if people want to find and learn more about your organization, where can they find you in like the digital space?
So we are on Instagram, also website, and we have also LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And yeah. So if you want to know more about Reservoir Air, you can visit our website. And maybe if you are curious with our calculator, you can also use it.